Alright, where to begin? Dad told me the last prioress at Kiersau knew something about the old history of Tassing. He said she became the abbess of a convent in Bologna. Mother Illuminata? Yes, at Santa Margherita. I should write to her. Option 1 of 3 Mother Illuminata, Abbess of Santa Margherita, formerly Prioress of Kiersau Abbey. Option 2 of 3 Mother Illuminata, Abbess of Santa Margherita, formerly Librarian of Kiersau Abbey. Option 3 of 3 Mother Illuminata, Abbess of Santa Margherita. Option 1 of 3 Mother Illuminata, Abbess of Santa Margherita, formerly Prioress of Kiersau Abbey. Option 1 of 2 My name is Magdalene Druck-Aaron. I do not believe we ever met, as I was very young when you left Kiersau. Option 2 of 2 I am the daughter of Klaus Drucker, Magdalene. We are printers from Tassing. Option 1 of 2 My name is Magdalene Druck-Aaron. I do not believe we ever met, as I was very young when you left Kiersau. Player says you were acquainted with my father. He bought many books from the library before that terrible fire consumed the I am writing because my father and I are creating a mural in the Tassing Rathaus. It's going to tell the history of our community and of Kiersau as well. We have only legends and folklore, since of course all of Kiersau's books were destroyed in the fire. I was hoping you could tell us something about the early history of the town, when the Romans were here. If you know anything about the early history of the abbey itself, we would also be glad to hear of it. We would appreciate any help you could give us and we hope you are well. Option 1 of 4 My father always spoke highly of you, especially how you cared for the sisters after the fire. Option 2 of 4 My father always spoke highly of you, especially how you cared for the library and its books. Option 3 of 4 My father always spoke highly of your piety and intellect. Option 4 of 4 If you would not mind a personal question, was it hard to return to Italy after being here for so many years? Option 1 of 4 My father always spoke highly of you, especially how you. Option 2 of 4 My father always spoke highly of you, especially how you cared for the library and its books. Option 1 of 3 Keep well. Option 2 of 3 God bless you. Option 3 of 3 Thank you again. Option 2 of 3 God bless you. Player says Magdalene. Player says if I want to finish the mural before Christmas, I should start planning tomorrow. I should head to bed and get as much rest as I can. Klaus. Klaus says Magdalene. Player says hey, Dad. How are you feeling? Klaus says no. I'm fine, you go on. Player says alright. I'll come back and check on you later. Klaus. Sleep. It's late, I should get some rest soon. Option 1 of 2 Go to sleep. Reich's postman says Mistress Druck-Aaron. I have a few letters here addressed to you. Take care now. Player says thank you, sir. Mother Illuminata wrote back to me. I hope her response helps me paint the mural. Illuminata says Mistress Druck-Aaron, thank you for your letter. I hope this reply finds you and your father in good health. I remember you both, as your father would carry you between the rows of our library in its final years. I also remember your late mother and brother, God keep their souls. While we did have some books that discussed Tassing's past, it's likely they were as mythological as what your neighbors believe. That said, I remember one of the peasants, Tillman Kreutzer, read about the history of the town. I know he died during the revolt, but perhaps his family knows some of what he learned. I should also say that it's not true that all of Kearsaw's books were destroyed by the fire. Andreas Mailer managed to save some from the flames, God rest his soul. In the aftermath of that terrible night, cataloging and preserving the surviving books was not at the top of any of our minds. Even so, this topic has stirred a memory within me. Several years before the fire, there was a death at Kearsaw, the murder of Baron Rothvogel. He had mentioned something about finding a copy of Historia Tasha, a comprehensive chronicle of your home. I had forgotten about it until now because the murder dominated all of our thoughts in the days and weeks that followed. It troubles me now because I recall that the late Father Matthias was also reading a copy of Historia Tasha shortly before he died. We never accounted for either book's whereabouts. They may have been hidden somewhere in the library and went up with everything else. Perhaps Lucky Steinauer took it from the Baron after the murder, though given the stonemason's motive, it seems unlikely. Then again, only God knows what he did and why he did it. My Klaus Haberl, the Baron's manservant, believed it may have been stolen by the town thief, Martin. If Martin is still alive, I would ask him if he knows where the book is. Hopefully he didn't trade it for a mug of beer on his way out of Tassing. If the man has passed from this world, perhaps his family knows where the book wound up. As for the history of the abbey, I fear that was also lost in the blaze. However, as sacristan, Brother Matthew learned a great deal about the subject. I have not kept in contact with him, but I know that he is now the Archdeacon of Zion. He is no longer a Benedictine, but uses his family name, Fauciniso. If you write to him soon, your letter may reach him before snow covers Valais. Please convey my best wishes to your father. He was a good friend to the abbey in its better years. Despite the violence that occurred, I hold no ill will toward anyone from Tassing. I pray that you have seen better days since that night, and that God forgives the many errors we made. God bless you as well. Mother Illuminata, Abbess of Santa Margherita. Player says, oh, Esther wrote to me as well. Esther says, my dear Magda, my parents were glad to hear from your father. Please tell him they wish to hear from him soon. Speaking of printing, your ink was well received indeed. I've made several prints with it. They look lovely on the wall. Elisha has taken to making his own ink from scraps he found around the house after he saw yours. Mother was furious when he spent several pfennigs trying to find lapis at the market. She set him scrubbing the floors for it. Took him 3 days. I am glad you're keeping busy, even though it keeps you from visiting. Father says we'll have room whenever you decide to make an appearance. And if you do take over the shop in Tassing, you'll have to make visits to Prague for supplies. Who knows? Maybe you'll meet someone here. I've made a good match, too. Before the expulsion, there was a handsome man at synagogue, Simond, who caught my eye. His father is a merchant, and he's a doctor. He went to the University of Padua. Can you believe it? I'd quite like to marry him, if I can find him again. Anyway, I think you'd have even better luck than me. The boys would swoon at a beautiful blonde artist from the Alps. Please keep us abreast of your father's mural. We'll have to come see when it is finished. Blessings. Esther. Player says I'll have to write Esther back tonight. I should head home and check on Dad. Player says, hey, Dad. How are you feeling? Klaus says, Magdalene, sitting upright is still a struggle, I'm afraid. The dizziness makes my stomach turn, so I'd rather not eat at the moment. Player says, are you sure? I can bring up something light, like milk or broth. Klaus says, no. I can't stomach anything just yet. But tell me, where are you off to? Player says I need to get started on the first part of the mural today, the old history. Mother Illuminata didn't know much about Tassing's early history, but she did give me a few places to start. I'm going to ask Blacktill if his grandfather told him any stories. Illuminata said he used to read about the Romans. Klaus says Mother Illuminata, Magdalene. Option 1 of 2 RIGHT, yes. Option 2 of 2 UGH. Fine. Mother Illuminata. Option 1 of 2 RIGHT, yes. Mother. Klaus says young Kreutzer has mentioned those tales from time to time, yes. He comes by to borrow books now and then, usually when he's found some interesting old ruin out in the fields. You might ask him about that. Peter's always harumphed about how no one paid attention to the old ways anymore, too. I'm sure he'll have some stories to tell about old Tassing. You might stop to talk to him. Option 1 of 3 I didn't think of that. Thanks, Dad. Option 2 of 3 I can hardly understand him these days, but it's worth asking. Option 3 of 3 but he's so mean. Option 1 of 3 I didn't think of that. Thanks, Dad. Klaus says of course, Magda. It's nice to feel useful, even if I am stuck here in bed. Player says nonsense. I'm just glad you're awake. Klaus says you might talk to Smokey, too. The old charcoal burner seems to know more about what's in the woods around town than anyone else. That, and he's a known gossip. Option 1 of 2 he's always been kind to me when I chat with him. I'm certain he'll know something about the ruins. Option 2 of 2 isn't he a bit eccentric? Option 1 of 2 he's always been kind to me when I chat with him. I'm certain he'll know something about the ruins. Klaus says you may hear something worth your while, at any rate. Player says I'll go talk to him. What about the ruins or the mines? I can't just use books and stories alone. I want to explore whatever is left over from the Romans and before. The salt mine and Roman ruins are the oldest parts of Tassing, so it only makes sense to see what they left behind. Klaus says you take after your mother. She was always thorough in her research. Player says you always said that's what good artists do. Klaus says be careful, alright? I know the twins mess around near the salt mine, but I don't want you getting hurt. I don't know why Jörg doesn't keep them in line. Always making trouble, those two. Option 1 of 3 don't worry about me, Dad. I'll be careful. Option 2 of 3 THEY don't have brains enough to keep out of trouble. I do. Option 3 of 3 that's what happens when you name your kids after pagan gods instead of saints. Option 1 of 3 don't worry about me, Dad. I'll be careful. Klaus says good. I still need you to run the press for a little longer, after all. Don't forget your other chores while you're running around town, alright? We still have a household to run. Option 1 of 3 don't worry. I'll get everything done. Option 2 of 3 I'll get to them, Dad. Option 3 of 3 sigh frustrated. Option 1 of 3 don't worry. I'll get everything done. Klaus says that's my girl. Player says I'd better get going if I want to do all of that today. I'll see you later, Dad. Klaus says good luck, Magdalene. Klaus says hello, Magdalene. Chicken house, Martin Mill, Arlie, Lauren, Mill. Chicken, Golden Inn, Mill, Forest, Lordy, John, Fire's house, Comet Garden, Franziska. Franziska says God bless you, Magdalene. I had been hoping to speak with you. Do you perhaps have a moment? Player says of course, Mother. How can I help? Franziska says I had heard that you had taken up the mural in the Rathaus after your father's terrible attack. Option 1 of 2 yes, I'm excited to paint the town's history. Option 2 of 2 that's right. What of it? Option 1 of 2 yes, I'm excited to paint the town's history. Franziska says your enthusiasm and insistence is most troubling to some people in town. Option 1 of 3 I know the council was hesitant at first, but they all agreed I could do it. Option 2 of 3 SOME people? Option 3 of 3 you wouldn't happen to be including yourself in that group, would you? Option 1 of 3 I know the council was hesitant at first, but they all agreed I could do it. Franziska says the council's view is limited in this matter. I'm afraid. I understand how you must have struggled with your mother passing while you were so young. Without a maternal figure to guide you, it is no wonder your spirit has wandered and wavered from its nature. Option 1 of 3 I am not sure what you mean, Abbess. Option 2 of 3 what? Option 3 of 3 my spirit's fine, thanks. Option 1 of 3 I am not sure what you mean, Abbess. Franziska says the pursuit of such traits is not for women, but men. As Paul writes, God calls women to work at home, not in trade. While supporting your father is laudable, taking on his work is imprudent. There are plenty of young men in Tassing worthy of you. Or, perhaps, you have a different call. I'd like to offer you a place here, among the sisters. Option 1 of 3. I understand you may disagree with my choices, but I'm not going to stop painting the mural, Mother Francisca. Option 2 of 3. My dad taught me how to run the shop, and I love printing. What's wrong with working as a printer? Option 3 of 3. Wait. Who's saying I'm troubling? And how did you hear that, anyway? Aren't you all stuck up here? Option 2 of 3. My dad taught me how to run the shop, and I love printing. What's wrong with working as a printer? Francisca says the arts are a path to hedonism and sin, Magdalene. They indulge the senses and keep us from the Lord. Player says art can glorify God, too, just like the mural in the church. That's what I'm trying to do. Francisca says, well, I can only pray that the Spirit guides your hand to glorify Him. However, my offer to join the convent remains open to you. Option 1 of 2. Thanku, Mother Francisca. I'll consider what you've said. Option 2 of 2. I have no intention to join the Poor Clares, Mother Francisca. That's the end of it. Option 1 of 2. Thanku, Mother Francisca. I'll consider what you've said. Francisca says, God bless you, Francisca. Gertrude says, God bless you. Player says, God bless you, Sister Gertrude says, are you doing all right? Father Thomas told us about your father's attack. You were incredibly courageous to run to Dr. Stahl's so quickly. Especially when the attacker could have been about. Option 1 of 3. I had to do something. Even if whoever attacked Dad was still there, I had to do something. Option 2 of 3. I didn't even think of that. I acted on instinct. I only knew Dad needed help as soon as possible. Option 3 of 3. Honestly, sister, I was terrified. I only thought of Dr. Stahl's because there was so much blood. Option 1 of 3. I had to do something. Even if whoever attacked Dad was still there, I had to do something. Gertrude says, the Lord was with you that night. I'm thankful you were not in harm's way. I lit an extra votive candle in Saint Satia's shrine for each of you this morning. Option 1 of 3. Thanku, Sister Gertrude. Dad's spirits have been up, but I know he doesn't have much time. Option 2 of 3. Dad says that the pain has gone down, but Dr. Stalls is worried about a brain hemorrhage. Option 3 of 3. He hasn't been able to get up or walk around without my help. Sister Gertrude, I don't know what to do. Option 1 of 3. Thanku, Sister Gertrude. Dad's spirits have been up, but I know he doesn't have much time. Gertrude says, have faith, child. The Lord cares for Klaus, just as he cared for his son. I'll see if I have any psyllium left in the convent. If you blend it with broth or warm wine, it will heat his brain and prevent infection. Option 1 of 3. Thanku, Sister. I'm grateful for all the help everyone in Tassing has provided. Option 2 of 3. I pray you're right. I'm trying to keep busy with the mural, but sometimes I just want to cry. Option 3 of 3. It's just not fair. Why would God let this happen? I feel so helpless all the time. Option 1 of 3. Thanku, Sister. I'm grateful for all the help everyone in Tassing has provided. Gertrude says the church is body of Christ, Magdalene. We are all one community, and want to help Klaus before God will turn this for good, no matter what things look like now. He sees beyond time itself, but we are constricted by the present. I have been around long enough to see his fruits even when I thought the devil had burned the fields. Keep faith, Magdalene. Option 1 of 3. Thanku, Sister. Your words warm my heart. Option 2 of 3. I'll do my best. Option 3 of 3. I just wish this never happened at all. Option 1 of 3. Thanku, Sister. Your words warm my heart. Player says, God bless you. Gertrude says, God bless you, Magdalene. Gertrude. Vaxlov. Vaxlov says, hello. Is there something I can do for you? Knives need sharpening. Option 1 of 2. I am Magdalene Druck-Aaron. Are you a friend of Smokey's? Option 2 of 2. I am not sure, is there? I'm Magdalene Druck-Aaron. I live in town. Option 1 of 2. I am Magdalene Druck-Aaron. Are you a friend of Smokey's? Vaxlov says I'd like to think so. I'm Vaxlov, I'm a tinker. Travel around and help people out with sharpening knives, little things like that. Druk Aaron. Are you a printer's daughter? Option 1 of 3 I am. My father is a printer. Option 2 of 3 I am the printer. Option 3 of 3 my father and I are both printers. Vaxlov says do you sample the wares much? Option 1 of 3 yes. I read books. Option 2 of 3 as often as I can. Option 3 of 3 not as much as you might think. Option 1 of 3 yes. I read books. Smokey says Vaxlov, don't, you're going to get in trouble again. Option 1 of 2 trouble? From me? Option 2 of 2 what's he talking about? Vaxlov says nothing. Ignore him. Smokey says nothing. This one can't help but talk to people about all of the strange things he believes. He reads all sorts of books, talks to odd folks, gets ideas brewing in his head. Now that doesn't bother old Smokey none. Bothers some other people a whole lot. Option 1 of 3 WHO? Option 2 of 3 IT doesn't bother me any. Option 3 of 3 sounds like their problem, not his. Option 1 of 3 WHO? Vaxlov says priests. Some people with limited imagination. Smokey says inquisitors. Vaxlov says 2 inquisitors. No need to overstate the danger. Option 1 of 2 DO I want to know what happened. Option 2 of 2 SO, books. Option 1 of 2 DO I want to know what happened. Vaxlov says a long time ago, I got into an argument with some people in town. They told Father Thomas. To his credit, he told them to let it go, but somehow an inquisitor found out. Anyway, I had to leave for a while. Player says so, books? Strange ideas? Vaxlov says yes. The host. The Eucharist. The bread and wine, body and blood of Christ. Player says Holy Communion? What about it? Vaxlov says more and more people are writing about rejecting transubstant, the idea that the bread and wine of the Eucharist literally becomes the body and blood of Christ. Smokey says here we go. Player says yes. Vaxlov says well, there are 2 ways to look at it. The first is on the grounds that Wycliffe and Hus rejected it. Using our eyes, our senses, there is nothing perceptible that changes in the character of the bread and the wine. Option 1 of 3 THAT doesn't mean it hasn't actually changed, though. Option 2 of 3 MUST our senses necessarily encompass all of God's miracles for them to be real. Option 3 of 3 I suppose that's true. Option 1 of 3 THAT doesn't mean it hasn't actually changed, though. Vaxlov says but that brings me to the second, even if the bread and wine turn to Christ's body and blood, why is that necessary for spiritual communion? We are bound by flesh, attempting to reunite with the light of God through the Eucharist. The act, the observance, unites our will with that of Christ. He is present in us through the remembrance, not the physical act. Option 1 of 3 Are you following this, Smokey? Option 3. Option 2 of 3 Isn't that heresy? Option 3 of 3 So what does that matter? Are you saying we shouldn't take communion? Option 1 of 3 Are you following this, Smokey? Smokey says absolutely not, and that's what I'll say if any inquisitors come around. Vaxlov says are you ready to hear why it's important to disbelieve in transubstant? Option 1 of 3 Sure. Why not? Option 2 of 3 yes. I'm certain this is leading somewhere good. Option 3 of 3 No. I'm sorry, but I think I've heard enough. Option 1 of 3 Sure. Why not? Vaxlov says I'll admit I hoped for some more enthusiasm regarding the fate of our souls, but alright, this all starts with Lucifer creating the world. Option 1 of 3 Excuse me? Option 2 of 3 Jesus Christ. Option 3 of 3 Say nothing. Option 1 of 3 Excuse me? Vaxlov says God was the Word, and the Word was truth, and truth is light. The light is God's will. God's light contained aspects, what we consider angels, facets of his infinite intellect. One of these aspects separated itself from his intellect, and manifested in the darkness as the corrupt will, Lucifer. Option 1 of 2 The darkness. Vaxlov says to exist outside of the boundaries of God's infinite light, the corrupt will brought into being an equally infinite darkness. Within that darkness, Lucifer cast his false light, a corrupted imitation of the divine intellect, to create the world. All material in our world is inherently a corrupted manifestation of that false light. We still have a connection to God through our intellect, but it is flawed by existing in our physical bodies. Option 1 of 4 So Genesis is wrong? Option 2 of 4 Was Jesus flawed by being a man even though he was born of a virgin? Option 3 of 4 But you still believe we can be redeemed through Christ, right? Option 4 of 4 All right. Now I've definitely heard enough. Option 2 of 4 Was Jesus flawed by being a man even though he was born of a virgin? Vaxlov says he was not born of a virgin. Smokey says I'm not hearing any of this. Vaxlov says, and it would not matter if he were. Lucifer was a rebellious splinter of God's will. The Christ appeared when God willed his divine intellect into Jesus. Option 1 of 2 But you said that physical bodies were all corrupt. Option 2 of 2 All right. Now I've definitely heard enough. Option 1 of 2 But you said that physical bodies were all corrupt. Vaxlov says yes, but while we are the heirs of Lucifer's rebellious intellect, Christ received wisdom from the light of God himself. He did truly die and was truly resurrected in body, but his reappearance was only important for him to convey the message of salvation to the people. In truth, resurrection is always happening, since if we die without grace, our souls are condemned to be reborn. This physical world is the only hell we know, living again and again the only torment. Option 1 of 3 I think that's a sad way to look at life. Option 2 of 3 So how do we escape it? Option 3 of 3 That's an interesting idea. Option 1 of 3 I think that's a sad way to look at life. Option 2 of 3 So how do we escape it? Vaxlov says regular prayer, abstention from material desires, sublimation and elimination of want. Smokey says that just sounds like being a monk. Vaxlov says no. Priests and monks both are corrupt agents of the business of the church. They have taken the simplicity of holy devotion and profaned it with pageantry. The saints, too. All this talk of Moritz and Sasha and miracles, they're just stories. The church has led people astray, put the hope of people in meaningless rituals, faith in relics. Option 1 of 3 I don't think so. I believe what Father Thomas teaches is the true gospel. Option 2 of 3 I can see why you don't go into town much. Option 3 of 3 Why you have some interesting ideas, Vaxlov says I'm glad you think so. I've spent a lifetime thinking about them. Anyway, thank you for indulging me, Magdalene. Option 1 of 3 It was illuminating. Option 2 of 3 Oh of course. Option 3 of 3 I was just being polite. Option 1 of 3 It was illuminating. Vaxlov says until later. Player says until then. Vaxlov says hello. Smokey says good day, Mistress Druck. Player says I've told you, Smokey. Call me Magdalene. Smokey says old habits, I suppose. What brings you to my corner of the woods? More gossip. Option 1 of 2 Only ancient gossip. I was wondering if you knew anything about the old pagan and Roman mines. Option 2 of 2 As much as I'm curious, no. I'm looking for a way to get into the old salt mines. Option 1 of 2 Only ancient gossip. I was wondering if you knew anything about the old pagan and Roman mines. Smokey says the mines? Is this a new interest of yours, Magdalene? I don't see the townsfolk trek out there as much anymore. Last I saw were those two twins, making trouble. They know a way in, but I'll be damned if I ever set foot close to that place. What are you so interested in over there? Player says the mural in the Rathaus needs a section about the earliest days of Tassing. The mines are the oldest part of Tassing, and you keep a keen ear. I thought you might have heard something. Smokey says I don't know about getting down into the mines, but I do know a fair few stories about them, and the other Roman ruins around here. The old stories my father used to tell me when he was the burner of Tassing. The one about Mars and Tasha, the nymph, was always my favorite, though I blame that on my youth. Player says Tasha? Like Tassing? Smokey says MMHM folk named the town after a pagan god. A Roman one, at that. I don't mind telling you the tale, Magdalene, but I warn you, it's a bit bawdy. Option 1 of 4 OH? Count me curious. Option 2 of 4 WELL, I need something about the Romans to paint on the mural. Option 3 of 4 OH, I don't need to hear those parts. Option 4 of 4 IVE read plenty of Roman myths. I'm sure none of it will surprise me. Smokey says maybe not, but I won't have your father hounding me for coarseness. Folk in this town don't like me anyhow, but I'll tell the decent bits of what I remember. Option 1 of 2 ALL right. What's the story? Option 2 of 2 UGH. Everyone excludes me from the fun. Smokey says you'll have your fun in time, Magdalene. You just wait and see. Player says all right. So, what's the story? Smokey says well, legend says that Mars was hunting in these woods and spied a fat boar for the taking. He'd just pulled back his spear when he heard a woman scream in terror. Of course, the creature ran off, and the god was angry at the loss of his quarry, so he tramped through the woods to see why a woman was in the forest, and not in the local town. Option 1 of 2 Why would a god be hunting in Tassing's forest? Option 2 of 2 I go into the forest all the time. Option 1 of 2 Why would a god be hunting in Tassing's forest? Smokey says how should I know? Maybe he just wanted a brisk walk. Besides, why should anything the gods do make sense? These were the old days, when spirits and ghosts prowled. Option 1 of 3 What do you mean, prowled? Option 2 of 3 you re just trying to scare me. Option 3 of 3 ghosts aren't real. Human spirits go to heaven or hell, they don't stay on earth. Option 1 of 3 What do you mean, prowled? Smokey says prowled. You know, like spirits and other evil things do. I can't just say they walked through the woods like you or me. They prowled. Player says all right. Keep going. Smokey says so. Mars found a nymph, Tasha, bathing in a spring with a fat, ugly satyr goading her from the shore. Enraged at seeing the trapped nymph, Mars transformed into a wolf and slew the satyr. And in return, well, Tasha bathed the god. Option 1 of 3 THEY. Option 1 of 3 THEY. Bathed. Option 2 of 3 AH. I see. Option 3 of 3 HAH. I get it. They bathed. Option 1 of 3 THEY. Bathed. Smokey says in a manner of speaking, yes. When Mars left the pool, he dripped onto the ground, and it blossomed with flowers and crops. They say that's why this valley is so fertile. Option 1 of 4 HUH. Mars got around, didn't he? Was there any nymph he didn't have his way with? Option 2 of 4 THAT might be tricky to paint on the mural. I'm not sure if the council would approve. Option 3 of 4 OH my. Option 4 of 4 DID you make that up? How do I know that's a real legend? Option 1 of 4 HUH. Mars got around, didn't he? Was there any nymph he didn't have his way with? Smokey says he was the god of virility, wasn't he? You can see why I liked that tale in my youth. So much of what the Romans left behind was destroyed over the years, but I like that we still have these tales. You can never really destroy stories as long as there are people to tell them. Of course, the Romans left a hell of a lot behind, too. The town is more Roman than Bavarian, really. Option 1 of 3 WELL, we are a part of the Holy Roman Empire. Option 2 of 3 because of how long it was a Roman colony. Option 3 of 3 that's ridiculous. We're Bavarian, not Roman. Option 1 of 3 WELL, we are a part of the Holy Roman Empire. Smokey says haha. That we are, and not for a lack of trying. Tassing is actually much smaller now than it was in the Romans' day. At least, that's what I make of it. The ruins go deep into the forest, and all the way to the old mine. Half of Tassing is built on Roman stone. Take a walk around town and you'll start noticing things. We used their stone to build. The old temple by Satia's shrine has grown over, but the aqueduct runs for miles. Even the abbey used to be an old Roman fort. You can see some of the Roman paved stones under the road if you look hard. We may not be Roman, but this town is. Option 1 of 3 Tassing has been building upon itself for hundreds of years. What a beautiful idea. Option 2 of 3 I never realized how much we relied on the Romans for our infrastructure. Option 3 of 3 OLD stones aren't much of a legacy. It's all rubble now. Reused and forgotten. Option 1 of 3 tassing has been building upon itself for hundreds of years. What a beautiful idea. Smokey says that's the way of things. Most people don't notice the old stones. Too busy in town to notice what's right in front of their eyes. Player says maybe I should go take a look at the mine. I'd get a better sense of what things were actually like. Smokey says haha. Nothing will stop you, I see. Well, I won't either. Just keep an eye for any wolves or satyrs you might see down there. Option 1 of 2 I'll let you know if I see any. Thanks for your help. Option 2 of 2 you still not going to spook me, Smokey. Option 1 of 2 I'll let you know if I see any. Thanks for your help. Smokey says good luck, Magdalene. Be safe. Smokey. Smokey, vac, forest.